Welcome to the podcast where we take a deep dive into the stories behind construction business leaders. We will share how they got started, how they found success, and the lessons learned along the way. I'm your host, Eric Fortenberry. Welcome to Builder Stories. Welcome back, everybody. I'm excited today. I'm going to start today's episode a little bit different. I'm going to open it up asking our guest here a little joke, but kind of just asking her. So what do you think a pool builder, a roofer, and a remodeler have in common?
It's me.
It is Kira Lee. I'm so excited to have Kira on today. She has been a phenomenal customer of ours for a good while now. It's been so exciting to see how Kira has been involved in these three different businesses, but has been able to leverage JobTread in all three of them in a unique way, and has seen how it has been able to make a huge impact on their ability to build and scale these companies. So I'm very appreciative that you hopped on here with us, Kira, and I can't wait to hear more about your story.
Awesome. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so how did you get involved in either Mako Pools, TriStar Quality Roofing, or TriStar Repair and Construction? Like what was the first one, and how did these all kind of form?
So the first one was TriStar Repair and Construction, and believe it or not, I had no idea I would ever be in construction whenever I was a kid. I actually applied to be a real estate leasing agent with a property management company in Denton, where we're based out of, back in 2008. I sent my resume in. I thought I wanted to do real estate. And a couple of days later, I got a phone call from Troy, who is the owner of TriStar Repair and Construction. They had been open for about 2 years. TriStar was born in 2006. It was owned by three partners at the time, one of them being the owner of the property management company, one of them being Troy, and then another one being a guy that is no longer around. He's bowed out. But the company was originally built for operating maintenance and make readies for the properties that the property manager managed. And they said, we have need for somebody. We need our very first office person. Can you come in? And I needed a job, so I said, okay. Over the following several years, our business evolved. We stopped doing the maintenance and the make readies. But by doing that, I did a lot of the customer service, sort of maintenance support, scheduling the handyman, diagnosing with customers over the phone what could be the root of their problem. Have you tried this? Let's see if we can fix this over the phone before we get a maintenance person out there, because it may take some time. Over the next couple of years, the owners kind of split off. The property management company decided to do everything in-house, and we were told to go figure it out. Go start doing more kitchen and bath remodels, things like that, which we had already been dabbling in. We had a very good relationship with most of the owners for the property management, and so when they needed somebody to do something in their personal home, they would always call us first and say, is it something that you can handle? Or do you have any recommendations? And so even though we were scared because it was a whole new, we're no longer doing what we've always done. It was a learning experience, and it ended up being the best thing that ever happened. We moved out. We started transitioning from doing 50 maintenance tickets a day to one or two projects every couple of weeks. Our billing got easier, dealing with larger scale clients that wanted to spend money versus, $50 service tickets here and there. Because of that relationship with the property management owners, in 2014, we had in Denton, a pretty big hailstorm. Um, we had already opened the roofing company, sort of just as a hobby, like doing it on the side, a handful here and there. But once that storm hit, those same property owners came to us. They needed us to replace the roofs of all of those managed properties and also their personal houses. So over, you know, 10, 12 years, we just kept getting into more things. In 2017, there was another massive hailstorm with baseball sized hail. At that point, we'd gotten pretty good at roofing, dealing with insurance. And so, because roofing is so storm based for us, because mostly we do insurance restoration, we do a lot of commercial at this point, but back in 2017, we mostly focused on residential. We had we had gotten good at it, and we knew that roofing was the sort of thing that could float our company in the slow years of construction because it's weather based, and some years the roofing is very slow, some years it's great. But it helps to have those two companies sort of going hand in hand, to ebb and flow off of each other. And in 2020, during COVID lockdown in Texas, everybody wanted a pool, and every pool builder was backed out. They were a 6 month waiting period before you could even get somebody out to dig. There were shortages all over the place. And so the owner of TriStar Quality Roofing and TriStar Repair and Construction hooked up with a friend of his who does pool service. And they decided to open up the pool company because with both of those experiences, one person knowing everything there is to know about pool service and chemistry, and the other person knowing everything there is to know about construction, they thought that it was going to be a really great hand-in-hand relationship. And um, because both of those owners have their own businesses, Troy has the two, and Jay the pool service business. He had the pool service. They sort of just said to me, "Okay, we're opening up a pool company, so here you go. Learn how to design, build, estimate a pool." And so I have found about myself in these years that I really enjoy learning new things. I really enjoy research. I enjoy playing with the technical aspects of things. I love being able to take things apart and figure out how they work. And so I I went for it, and I learned everything you can about pools. And during that process, I realized I needed a better way to do things. We had been pushed in the direction of one of the large project management softwares that probably everybody that came to JobTread used before, and it was terrible. It did not work for any of our companies. It especially didn't work for pool stuff. Um, so I went out searching, and I don't know if it's because I'm so close to the JobTread headquarters, but I found them, and I didn't even talk to anybody. I just jumped into the demo. That's kind of how I like to work. I don't want your pitch. I want to get in and play with it myself and see what it can do, and then maybe I'll hear your pitch. And so I played with it, and I was immediately intrigued. And then Travis reached out to me and did the free demo thing with me. I think by the time Travis had reached out, I'd already signed up, because I was just so enamored by the things that it could do. So I first started JobTread with the pool company and realized that the old school way of spreadsheets, and trying to bid my projects that way there was a better way, and that better way was JobTread. And at that point, there there were only three of us in the pool company, and I was doing the majority of the office side of things, in addition to some of the on-site project management. We were only doing one or two pools at a time, and so it wasn't 100% imperative that I used a project management sort of thing with the work orders and everything, but estimating for me is totally what locked me in. The templates, being able to put together my catalog and always know what my pricing was going to be, whereas just dealing with an Excel spreadsheet, you can build all of that stuff out with an Excel spreadsheet, but you've got to know Excel. You've got to be able to use the formulas and the macros and in order to really make it functional. And that's time consuming. Most people don't know how to do that. And if they're going to learn it, it takes time. And so having all of that pre-built for us in JobTread, it turned our bidding process from something that took days, honestly, because nobody ever really taught us, to something that we could knock something out in just a few hours. And once I realized how much more capability JobTread could do with the project management side of things, I immediately said, I need to get I need to get the other two companies on this because the other program not working. I don't think it had, maybe it did have work order or PO functions, but I swear you needed a degree in it to be able to actually learn it. I've maybe only talked to the help or tech support once or twice. They didn't offer trainings. And I really truly think that everybody that's in the construction industry knows how important relationships are with your customers. And that's something that we got from JobTread and Travis and Eric and like it became very easy for everybody to reach out and say, we're here, we can support you. What do you need? And so Travis worked with me on building out the functions that I needed. Soon after switching over to JobTread from the repair side, I did the roofing side. That's where I really started to play with the cost groups and those type of templates. And now we use them. I mean, we use every function of JobTread. Probably most people also know, they're on QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks Online, in my opinion, is pretty different than in QuickBooks Desktop, which was great. But of course, during COVID, and then in 2021, we had rolling blackouts with the ice storms. We needed something online. We needed something that could be done from home. QuickBooks Desktop was on the work computer. If there was 6 inches of ice outside, I couldn't get to work to do payroll. So that's why we switched. But the functionality was so much different. Job costing was practically non-existent in QuickBooks Online, which for anybody in a construction or job project-based industry, you have to have that. Otherwise, you can't make money or you can't know what your margins are. So with those struggles with our accounting, when we realized that JobTread could give us absolutely everything that we could possibly need as far as our job costs go, we have since, even though we're still using QuickBooks Online, I don't care that it doesn't have the functionality. If it did, I wouldn't use it. I would still use the JobTread reporting because it's foolproof. It's so much more accurate than QuickBooks. There's every time you enter something in to the QuickBooks side, there's, in my opinion, too much. You can mess up the job or enter the wrong thing, and you just can't do that with JobTread bills. And we're able to see our margins. We're able to see exactly how much money all of these jobs are making. And then if we want to dive in further to the accounting side, we can with QuickBooks, but mostly we just use it for our expenses at this point. And it has really truly made our lives so much easier, not only from a project management side of things, but also as a job costing side of things. And even though I started out in the office, I've been a part of all of it with each of the businesses. I've been on the job sites doing the project management with the pool side. I've done the material orders with the roofing side. I've done some project management with the residential side. And even though all three of the businesses use JobTread in slightly different ways, it's customizable in a way that works with all three of our industries. And that's not anything that I think we would have ever been able to find until we found JobTread.
Man, that is such an awesome story, Kira. I mean, like to have no background in construction and come in as the office manager, took it upon yourself to find a better way and get JobTread implemented with the pool business first, and then be able to take that into the construction business and then into the roofing business. I mean, that's awesome. Like kudos to you for
Thank
really being able
you.
to dig in and learn all of this. And again, like, most people just have to focus on sort of one particular trade. You've really spanned the gamut from the top of the house to the bottom of the yard,
Yeah.
bottom of the pool there. I mean, like that is just so neat. So all three of these businesses, are they totally independent, like set up as their own entities? Do
Yes.
they have their own
Yep.
QuickBooks and everything?
Yep. Yep. They're all three separate tax ID numbers. Um, both of the TriStars, the roofing and the repair and construction, are both owned by the same owner. So things do get a little messy, but between
Sure.
there's just a lot of the same staff. A couple of the project managers overlap, the vendors overlap, and so there's definitely been complications as far as um, things get paid from one side and they should have been from the other side. But honestly, it's not anything that we we still would have had to deal with it with QuickBooks. And to me, JobTread has given us all of those same tools to be able to basically just act as vendors to go between the two companies. Um, we've even just recently dived into carrying a little more like quote unquote inventory, um, stock things that we're buying a pallet at a time and using it on those jobs. On the roofing stuff specifically, what is so important is our roofing salespeople are commission based, and so every every single thing that goes to that job has to be accounted for, because if it is not accounted for, those salespeople are getting the advantage of not having that cost associated with their job that they are getting a profit split with. And so things like a pallet of underlayment that we're keeping in the shop to use on each job, accounting wise, that could be a total nightmare. And luckily it doesn't have to be, because we are able to in JobTread record that expense, and then we don't even have to push it to QuickBooks if we don't want to, or we can in a different manner. I think that the way that I've gotten it set up now is I'm pushing it as a credit card account of just a shop expense.
Sure.
That way I can go in and reconcile it monthly or on an as needed basis. But we've been able to create our own vendor inside of JobTread that's shop expense, so that if we do take things out of, another job, it's easy to make that transfer so that it's accounted for.
Yeah, that's great.
And that's not anything that we could have done with another project management software, I don't
Yeah.
think.
I mean, I think one of the really neat things, and you touched on it earlier, is just about how you have been able to really like leverage the templates and
Hmm.
the catalog to essentially streamline your entire, estimating process. And I'm curious to sort of learn like more about that. Like how, when you first got into it, I mean, or what were you using like spreadsheets before? Is that kind of just like how did sort of that transition, because that's a big challenge for a lot of people is figuring out, like if they don't know their numbers at all and they don't have any like, budget templates or things like that, that's obviously a big challenge in and of itself
Hmm.
to put that together first. But then we do have a lot of people who are coming from spreadsheets or they're moving from, one of these other providers, so tell us a little bit more about that transition and like, how did you, because like I would say right now you're on the other end of the spectrum, leveraging parameters, formulas. Like you've really put a lot of effort into building out a well-oiled machine here. But like, how did you get there, and what would you say you learned along the way that might help others to be able to get there a little bit quicker?
So on the construction side, until we moved to um, that shall not be named, we used Outlook Calendar, email. We built estimates through QuickBooks. Um, and with the desktop version of QuickBooks, that was okay. With the online part of QuickBooks, you couldn't track anything. Progress invoicing was impossible. Um, Reporting was terrible. And even still, that business is not where I want it to be with utilizing JobTread. And I think the biggest thing is just because for a long time I wasn't totally knee deep in it because I focused on the pool stuff in 2020. I really spent 2 years nailing that stuff down. The repair and construction side was just sort of running itself. We've got a lot of really great team members over there that do their own project management. And, um, some people think if it's not broken, don't fix it. I do still want to fix it. And I keep telling them, please let me do one of your estimates for you so that I can build out this template for you because I really think that there's better ways that we can be doing this. So we're not utilizing a ton of templates on that side just yet, but also the biggest reason is because those guys are not computer guys. They are project management construction guys. They work in the field and it's working for them. But I've I've focused so much on the pool stuff, and then just this year with the roofing side of things, we've had in Texas hailstorm, tornado, another hailstorm, another tornado, another
Yeah.
hailstorm. So that side has just been absolutely crazy. And so I have been focusing my time where it's needed. And on the roofing side of things, in 20 and up until 2014, we just used subcontractors for absolutely everything. We had one main roofing crew, and they ordered the materials and they arranged the delivery, they paid for the materials, and then they just sent us a bill. In 2014, when it did get much busier, we realized that we were losing money by not being in control of our own materials. So, in maybe this was 2017, but we transitioned to, I don't know if I should say their name. I don't have anything bad to say about them, but one of the larger roofing platforms. And it was great. It was absolutely wonderful. It did everything that we needed it to do. It was very expensive though. And so in 2017, when we had 300 roofs, it was totally fine. It paid for itself. In 2018, 2019, when it started to slow down, it just became one of those expenses that we didn't feel like we could maintain because we weren't doing that sort of volume. And so we canceled our account. I was terrified to do so. I thought we were going to lose tons of data, claim paperwork, photos, material orders. Um, they had pre-built a bunch of material order templates, and that had always been what we'd used to place those material orders. We still weren't doing a ton of estimating in that system because so much of our things are based on just the insurance claim paperwork. Um, so when we transitioned off of that, and then we got more weather in 2022, 2023, we needed something again. Um, because the old style way of just using pen and paper to make your notes, to the sales guys using their own cell phones to communicate with the customers, and then I was doing all of the material orders. I think I was using a spreadsheet for the material orders, but I also wasn't really job costing. We knew that with the insurance claims, we were going to make money, but there was more money to be made if we could leverage our subs, um, squeeze our subs, tell them, we know that we can get this cheaper from another vendor. So can you give us a break? Can you give us a volume discount? Like, here's what we're doing. And our accounting was still a mess because we didn't have one localized place for what we knew we were going to pay for a bundle of shingles. And since we have been using JobTread only majorly for the last year, because 1 year ago we hired back the same production manager that we were using in 2017. He ended up leaving for a while to go work for a big commercial roofer in Dallas when we slowed down, because most of our guys were all just commission based, and so two of them left to go work for the commercial roofing company, and they were miserable. They asked, "How can we make it back to TriStar? How can we make it back to Denton? We don't want to do this commute." The production manager had just had his wife had just had a baby, and he was working 12-hour days, coming home late, not seeing his kid, spending a ton of time in the car commuting, and we we actually pulled him over into the pool side in 2021. We said, okay, here's how we can get you back. We're not ready for you on the roofing side of things, but we can at least get you back to Denton. So we had him on the pool side. He transitioned back over to roofing a year ago, and he is probably behind me. He is probably the next he's like the number two JobTread expert in our company because of what he's doing with the catalog and being able to track his material orders and building out the to bid requests so that he's not blatantly giving multiple vendors pricing that he knows we're getting from one that we have locked in our catalog. So he starts with the bid request, sends that off as the material order. Once he gets the invoice for those materials back, he approves it into a work order, converts it to a bill, goes through all of those steps. And I want to say that several weeks ago, I don't remember if it was a report that he was pulling from JobTread or just reviewing a bunch of different invoices. It turns out they were overcharging us on materials based on what price list had said. And so he used somehow all of the documents that he'd had in JobTread to basically tell them that they'd been overcharging us, and he had them give us a refund of about $7,000 or something. And that was just, I mean, it was money already spent. It
Yeah.
was money already spent. It had, so him being able to do that just based on the knowledge. I mean, we've got what, 2 or 3 years paid for of JobTread just by him being able to do that with our vendor bills.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. I mean, so many people don't like have a good handle on their numbers. Like they're
yeah.
not watching their cost, and like
Oh, for
it's
sure.
like there's so much money that's just being hemorrhaged and they don't realize it. And again, sometimes it could be intentional, sometimes it could be unintentional, but like you have to know your numbers and you have to do the job costing, and I mean
Yes.
it's so important as you're saying.
Yes. And to me, I think one of the best things that you guys as a software company, I mean, not even just a software company, as a full-fledged partnership with your customers. I know that you and I have talked about this before, but I really think that us contractors need to learn from each other. It's not a competition. There is so much construction to go around. You don't have to fight each other for it. But one of the biggest downfalls I see for people in this industry is not knowing your numbers, not only job costs, but also knowing what your overhead numbers are.
Yeah.
And I don't even know where it came from, but when we were just going out onto the construction side of things from the maintenance and make ready side, we had it in our heads that we needed to do a 40% markup on every job. And I think that that is sort of just one of those guidelines slash rules or pieces of advice that people give to contractors when they're starting out. But that 40%, is it margin or is it markup? So many people don't know the difference. And just because 40% markup might work for one company doesn't mean it works for the other company. Um, it has so much to do with your expenses, your staff, your rent. And if you don't know what your overhead numbers are, you really can't determine how much your job costs markup needs to be. And one of the amazing things that you guys are doing is getting people together in a room with other experts so that we can learn this and learn from each other. Before we discovered JobTread, we were on that 40%, everything needs to be 40%. We did hire a consultant who we absolutely love. He came in and worked with us and did like some hardcore like forensic accounting type stuff for us to really determine what is our base recovery rate. How much do we have to be marking up these job costs in order to be breaking even? And for one of our businesses, I think that number is about 48%. And that is before we add in profit.
Hmm.
None of us do this for the fun of it. We do it for profit. We do it because we love it. But we want to make money doing it. And so if you are just breaking even before you make your profit, how can you build your business?
Yeah.
And so if that number is high or higher than your typical 40%, which ours was, that tells you something. You can either cut your expenses, you can charge more, or you can cut your job costs. And so we have had to do, two of the three. We tried not to cut our expenses because the majority of that is fixed costs or staff that we need. And So when he came in and worked with us, we just realized we need to be charging more, and that has worked out for us. I think since 2020, even though things have been scary economy wise for everybody, people are still going to spend the money one way or another.
Yeah.
If the housing market is good in this area, then maybe people are going to spend the money there, but they're still going to do those remodels because the house isn't going to be perfect or it needs an update. Or if the housing market is terrible, which we've been in that situation for the past couple of years, people are going to make do with what they have and change their space to make it work for them. So we have been able to start increasing our prices without people balking and us losing the business. And for JobTread to have these things like JobTread Connect, where you get people in a room so that everybody can understand the same thing, I just think it's so valuable to everybody in this industry. And on the roofing side specifically, um, we have gone to several different events where it's the same type situation. It's more focused on the one roofing trade, but they put you all in a room and they tell you this is how to leverage your business against insurance companies. Because if every contractor does it the same way, the insurance companies can't say no, and when you have the little guys who are just starting out with their construction trade, maybe they've got a truck and they do the work themselves. If they're undercutting the pricing to get the job, they are hurting themselves because they could be making more money. They're hurting the customer because if they don't make enough money to stay in business, they're going out of business. And then if the customer needs something in the future or needs a warranty repair or has questions about something, well, now that contractor is gone because they went out of business because they didn't make enough money. And it doesn't it doesn't hurt anything to learn from each other
Yeah.
and share your knowledge because enough. There's enough to go around, and there will be for
I,
forever. I'm certain of it.
I couldn't agree more. And, I want to reiterate one thing here that you talked about. The difference between markup and margin is so important that contractors go and learn the difference. A 40% markup is only going to get you a 28% profit margin.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to make 40% profit on a job, you actually have to mark up your cost 67%.
Yes.
It is so important that people take the time. If you do not understand that, you need to go and really spend some time wrapping your head around it. Within JobTread, we do give you both. You can see right next to each other, the markup versus the margin, but like you need to understand the difference. It is so important.
And you have to be able to understand how much you need to make
Yes.
just to keep yourself going before you even make a profit. And those numbers can be different, whether it's just you or if you have an office staff.
Yeah.
Your overhead is going to be a lot less if you're just a one-man show with no office and just a truck. But it is important no matter what.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what size you are. If if you're a single person handyman that wants to take home $100,000 a year, you have to know how much you need to be charging to cover that 100,000, to cover that truck expense, to cover your fuel, on top of all of the job costs that you're going to have just to go to the homeowner's house. And if everybody is not doing that and customers are looking for the cheapest price, they're going to continue to look for the cheapest price because they're going to get it.
Yeah.
They're going to get it from those people that don't know any better, and it is only hurting themselves.
Yeah. Well, I remember. So you had you did a pool builder webinar with us. I don't know, around a month ago, and during the webinar, you were talking about how you were going to share all of your templates,
Hmm.
which you've shared them with us, and then you also gave us all the roofing templates, and I remember after that I called you. I was like, now, Kira, are you sure we're good to share this? Like, do we need to, like, change anything or anonymize? And just you truly are practicing what you're preaching, and you said no, like, I want to help educate the entire industry, because that is what
Yes.
is going to help all of us.
Yes.
And like I feel like you truly embody my favorite saying is a rising tide lifts all boats.
Hmm.
But yeah, like, we need to help everybody make sure that they understand what they're doing and how they're operating their business if you want to be able to build a sustainable company.
Yeah.
It's easy to come in and just be the low cost, undercut everyone on price and sell a job at a loss. I mean, everyone can do that,
Yeah.
but that isn't the best for you or the homeowner. And
Hmm.
it's just not what the industry as a whole needs to be doing. Like, we need
Yeah.
high quality work that is appropriately priced and sold so that everybody can win here.
Yeah. Absolutely. And um, you probably think I have enough jobs as it is, but I also started helping a friend of mine in 2022. Um, I helped her open a speech therapy mobile company. And because of my dealings with insurance, property claims, and all of the consulting events that I've been to, being against the insurance company, I'm glad that we have insurance. It sometimes feels like a scam, and it sometimes feels like and I'm sure that anybody that does insurance restoration, whether it's roofing or fires or water or whatever, feels this way, is they have their thumb on you, and they're the ones that are really in charge. They're the ones that set the pricing, and then they continue to manipulate the pricing. They're doing it for health insurance too, and that's something I think that everybody can relate to, because I've heard many times people say, like, what is the point of having the health insurance? They're still going to send me a bill for $200 or $300 or more. And when I started helping her with her insurance billing, we ran into the same problem, to where the insurance is setting the pricing and people are gatekeeping. You it is not an industry just yet to where people are sharing how much they're charging for therapy services. They're not sharing how much the insurance is reimbursing them. Every plan is different. Every deductible is different. Every copay is different, and people in that industry are seriously gatekeeping. And I don't feel like I have been in another industry that has been happening to, because everybody that I've ever had interaction with, as far as the construction side of things, has they love to share their information. They love to share how they're doing things, tips and tricks, and here's what I use, and here's how I can make the most money, and here's what you need to be charging. And so
Well,
it's
what about, I see all the time though, people come to us and they're like, well, we're using, just Xactimate, and like, we're just taking whatever insurance tells us they're going to pay us, and then they're basically saying this is all we're going to get, and we have to go operate the job at this price, or we just can't do it. Like, I mean, can you talk a little bit about how, I mean, I know you can go back and do supplements, and like, you can, that you can't just take their word for it. You need to have your
no.
own handle on your numbers and your cost, and then you have to learn how to sort of work that. So maybe
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that.
One thing that I have found recently, in the past, probably since 2017, we have a lot of roofs that we're doing right now that we did replace in 2017, and so the customers have come back to us. So I actually have two different insurance claim paperworks, one from 2017 and one from 2020, and customers have even asked about it, because the pricing in 2024 is significantly higher than it was in 2017 or 2014. I had a customer just recently say that he could not possibly understand how our new price was twice as much as 2017. And I feel like maybe this is just an age thing that's happening to all of us as we get old, but 2017 was 7 years ago. It wasn't just yesterday, even though it feels like it was just yesterday. Um, Eric, I know you have little bitty kids, and maybe that's why we think that it was just yesterday, because like we literally had a baby yesterday, and it feels like they're still babies. But it's 7 years is a long time, and the material increases, you can't even just think about normal inflation because we had this epic event in 2020 of COVID that was just crazy. And things still haven't stabilized since then. And I mean, I can only speak for Texas, but we had COVID in 2020, we had ice storm in 2021, rolling blackouts, another ice storm in 2022. What we had the concrete plant burnt down or something, or there was a concrete shortage. I know that a chlorine plant burnt down. It's just been craziness after craziness, and now's the election year, which is making people panic one way or another. It doesn't matter whose side you're on. People just, they're scared,
Yeah.
and the pricing it is not gonna, even though it feels like it might have started to stabilize. I think these last 4 years have proved that you just can't count on anything stabilizing. Um, Being in the pool side of things and dealing with the gunite pricing, concrete pricing, even for foundations and things like that, everybody has started to notate on their estimates, this price is only guaranteed for 10 to 15 days because we're not going to be stuck footing
Yeah.
the bill if prices go up. And that is definitely something that happened with pool companies back in 2020, 2021. There were a ton around here that went out of business because they would sign contracts with their customers, couldn't build for 6 months, and then in 6 months, that contract is still valid. They're held to the price, but now their job costs have gone up,
Yeah.
and they went bankrupt. But as far as the insurance pricing goes, we are lucky that Xactimate itself, I feel like for a lot of things, the pricing is more than accurate. There are other things that I feel are not quite as accurate. Some of like the window trades, but I also would urge people to really go to an Xactimate class. They've got them online. They have them, I think, quarterly in large areas. I know we just sent two of our office people to a Dallas Xactimate 3-day course. But Xactimate is a tool, and if you pick up a hammer and you swing it sideways, is it going to be effective? Maybe, but not as effective as it could be if you used it correctly.
Sure.
And Xactimate is one of those things to where you have to know the line items and you also have to know construction. Because if you don't know the full process to rebuild a roof or rebuild a bedroom or a kitchen, you're going to leave things out. And because Xactimate is all line item based, if you're missing line items, you're missing out on the money.
Yeah.
And so you have to be supplementing these insurance claims. If you're not supplementing, you're giving money away. Because of how busy it's become for our roofing side of the business, there's a ton of things that we have not pre-supplemented for. and we're doing it on the back end. And you can definitely tell the difference. If you are going through the process, you get your customer to sign an agreement that they're going to use you for the claim one way or another. Um, get them to do that before you spend a ton of your time supplementing these things. But I've tried it every single way you can imagine. I've sent insurance companies an Xactimate. I've sent insurance companies just an estimate at JobTread to say this is my price. I've even used Symbility. I spent an afternoon learning Symbility so that I could argue with an insurance company, because anybody that does insurance anything knows that Safeco and Liberty Mutual are some of the lowest prices, and it's a lot of the reason is because they use Symbility, and Symbility is just like Xactimate. It's a tool. If you know the line items to use and you add those, you're going to add dollars. They are now, I'm sure everybody's seen it, using ITEL pricing, the material supply warehouse pricing, where they are manipulating the shingle pricing or the flooring pricing or whatever material pricing they feel is necessary. They're reducing it to say, this is what the homeowner could purchase this at if they were to go to this place. And well, guess what? The homeowner isn't the one purchasing the materials. The contractor is. The homeowner cannot go to a roofing supply warehouse and purchase this material for this price, because only contractors are getting this price because of the volume discount or because of their negotiation. I mean, it all comes down to volume. You're not going to get a good price if you're not buying from them exclusively. And it frustrates me because you can even go to the Home Depot website and you can see that if you were to buy 5 squares, it's going to be this much. And it's still more than the insurance pricing. But if you buy 40 squares, here's your price. So if every contractor did it the same way, and every contractor had their blurb back to the insurance company to say, we are a contractor, we cannot buy, we can't buy at wholesale pricing and sell it to our customer for wholesale pricing because we're a business. Even the 10% overhead and 10% profit that, if you're lucky, you can get the insurance companies to agree on. We have just gone through all of the 20% markup does not cut it for your business.
That's great feedback, and I hope everyone can take action on that, because if you're not, you're definitely losing out.
Yes.
I want to ask you about one other tool though that you all use, and I've shared with you that we're about to be announcing an integration with EagleView later this month, and I kind of told you about this a little while ago, and you got really excited. The neat thing, and I want to kind of hear how you all have been able to leverage EagleView and what it's done for your business.
The biggest thing is the subcontractors, because insurance, it's the Wild West. You can ask, you can add the line items, you can adjust the quantities, and unless your homeowner is willing to fight for you, you're going to have to take what they give you. So on that insurance pricing, again, get your homeowner on board, make sure that they know that you guys are a team against the insurance company. The insurance company is going to say, they're the team, the homeowner and the insurance company against the contractor. And as long as you have built that relationship, the homeowner will be on your team. They will want you to succeed. They will want you to make more money. But the biggest way that we are able to use EagleView is to ensure that our subs are billing and getting paid the fair amount based on what the EagleView says. And again, EagleView, just like Xactimate, it's a tool. It's not 100% accurate. Your waste numbers are not 100% accurate. EagleView can suggest the waste, but you know your own waste. You know what percentage of waste you need to order. You know how many, just based on jobs you've done in the past. When the subs run out of materials and there's still 5 squares left, you adjust it. And with the JobTread templates and parameters, you're able to go in there and adjust it for every single future time. We have at this point nailed down our shingle numbers. We know that we need about 12% waste on every single roof. If it's more or less cut up, we can adjust that. But if we're 1 or 2 bundles off, we're talking, $60, $70. That's not the end of the world. But what is important is if the subcontractors are not telling the truth, or if they're being inefficient with their materials, and if you know that the insurance paperwork said 30 squares, the EagleView said 35 squares, and the roofer turned in 40 squares, you know that something is wrong. Because we don't always trust insurance because they do undercut, EagleView is what we go back to. And we tell our subs, we are going to pay you based on the EagleView numbers. If you think that's wrong, you can go hand measure the roof and tell us differently. But and I don't know what everybody is paying labor-wise for roofing, but our subs have not gone up in price much since 2017. And they probably should, because I know that the dump tickets are really eating up a lot of their profit. And then they're nickel and diming us and adding every little line item that they can add, just like we do to the insurance company. I get it. But we have to be able to maintain a baseline. And I'm not the most structured person, but I am all over the place. I have to have a baseline. I have to know where am I going to start before I start making exceptions. And our EagleView is that for us. This is what we're going to go off of. This is our baseline. We will pay you for as many squares as it says on the EagleView. That's what we're going to order our materials based on. If it's different, they can measure it and they can tell us why it's different.
Yep.
And
Well, I'm
I know
excited
that things
to,
yeah.
for you to now be able to just like order those reports directly in JobTread. The report gets dropped right into the job, as well as then you can one-click import all of the measurements directly to your parameters. And so if you've set up your templates correct and are leveraging the formulas and the parameters, then like it can just instantly price out that job for you and give you all of that material takeoff and all of the information that you need. So I'm excited to see how you can take your template and kind of if I mean I've looked at your template, it looks pretty awesome. I think it's going to be a drop right in, but it'll be interesting to see how this can further just streamline that whole process for you to get all that information right in there.
Yeah, I mean it's super exciting because you cannot trust what's on the claim paperwork. If you do, I've seen some of them use 5% waste, no waste. It's not accurate, and they are people. All of the adjusters are people, and they may not be experienced, especially when you have the floods, you have the hurricanes, you have the tornadoes, you have the hail. They are having to hire inexperienced people at an alarming rate just to keep up. And so just like you wouldn't hire a brand new project manager and say, go figure it out, you can't count on that information being accurate without doing your own research.
Yeah.
And having that EagleView, this is our standard. This is what we are going to go off of. It is industry standard. It's I'm super excited to play around with it, and also to be able to see exactly what your costs are going to be, especially if you order your materials based on those Eagle View measurements. What are your actual costs going to be associated with this project? And if your insurance price is a 67% markup already, great. Maybe you don't need to supplement it. Maybe you don't need to spend any more time on this claim. Maybe you just sign the paperwork with the homeowner and build it, call it a day, you're good.
Yep.
But if you have one of those green adjusters or a Safeco Liberty Mutual claim that you know just by looking at their numbers that you're going to lose money, that Eagle View will be so helpful to show why are you going to lose money. Is it because of their pricing, or is it because their quantities are off? Is it both? Yeah. And having that proof to be able to just send it that way.
Yeah. Well, look, I really appreciate you coming on, Kara, and kind of just sharing this perspective, seeing 3 different types of businesses and how you've been able to kind of work with each one of them and their unique set of challenges. But at the end of the day, like it's clear that you have really gained a great understanding of construction and how to, most efficiently manage all of these businesses. And it's just been really awesome to watch what you've been able to do with JobTread. I'm super excited to see what you can do with this Eagle View 2. We'll definitely get you early access to that as well. Awesome. And for everyone else out there, like as Kira talked about, JobTread Connect is our annual user conference. It's coming up in January. I believe Kira will be doing a talk there as well to kind of go into some more details about how she's kind of set up some of her templates and doing the estimating and everything. But I would highly encourage you to check that out and to come out for that event. It's a 3-day event in January. And like she said, like just taking the time to go and network and learn and help each other. We can all win here. We can all build much better, much more scalable, much more profitable businesses by working together instead of working in silos and in vacuums. Like we can help each other and we can all build better businesses. So I really encourage you to take the time. Yeah, absolutely. And some other just really exciting news. I just found out during our recording here, we just hit 4,000 customers on JobTread. So a huge milestone. Really excited about that. But at the end of the day, Kara, like it's just been really awesome getting to know you and see what you and your teams have been able to accomplish. And I appreciate you sharing your insight and how you've been able to work this. You do seem to be a little bit of a miracle worker, kind of doing a lot of different things in a lot of different companies. So I don't know how you do it all, but whatever you're doing, it's working.
Well, thank you. I do not feel that we would have been as successful at this point without the tools that you've given us. And honestly, I know that JobTread does even so much more than the way that we're utilizing it, because I swear every single day you guys drop a new feature and it's something that I say, oh my God, well now I have to learn that. And I have to start figuring out how to integrate this into our process. And it's absolutely wonderful, but it's also one step at a time. And I think for everybody that has never been to Connect or another conference type situation where you're learning from so many other people, you need to just go into it knowing that it is going to be a total overload of information. You will not be able to implement every single thing that you learn. Pick the 5 most important things and nail those down. And then next year, go back and pick 5 new things, because every single year you will be able to improve yourself and you will learn from these other contractors. You will learn from the tech side of things, and it will pay for itself probably in your very first job that you implement these things.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Kara, for coming on.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you in January.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Builder Stories. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and gained valuable insights that can help you in your journey along the way. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave us a review. And as always, if you or someone you know has a story to share, please contact us at builderstories.com. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Eric Fortenberry, and remember, every builder has a unique story. Keep building yours.